Doesn't. I have two-finger scrolling turned on.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
It just wasn't scrolling the YouTube page.
Yeah. I think it
There
only
we
scrolls
go.
the active window, though. Hello, by the way, everyone. We're live.
Oh, hi. Hello there. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Oh, hi there. Didn't see you come in.
That feels like a Jonathan Frakes type opening.
Jonathan Frakes asks you questions.
Have you ever seen it rain on a sunny day?
Have you ever gone for a walk beneath the clear blue sky upon a summer's eve? Anyway, good evening. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Two Ties Cork Deck
YouTube stats. Web show.
in-person meeting.
Hello.
The things have been relaxed, so we're allowed to talk to one another in person now. So we're back again.
We're allowed to acknowledge our existence.
I'm regretting using the C920 already. We should have used the Brio just because it can do a wider shot. So we're having to be a little bit cozy. But live same room indeed. Chris Kingan, did I expect anything less?
Yes, because we have no expectation of you giving us money.
Yes, that's exactly the words I was looking for. Thank you very much for the $10 though. Much appreciated. Most ambitious crossover of all time. This is a crossover now. Even though
Oh no, we're a terrible sized vehicle. Those silly new vehicle sizes between a SUV and a hatchback.
Not my cup of tea. Give me a saloon with an impractical boot any day of the week. So yeah.
Yes, an impractical boot and an impractical turning circle and
All the rest of it. Yeah. Spud Nugget with the £10. Thank you very much. How's it going? Back in the office indeed. Caradog has been building terrible computers in the shop. Not terrible because they're slow, but just terrible. They're cursed computers. They've got like 30 series graphics cards in them, and they're botched together in like £10 chassis and stuff like that. It's terrible.
But basically, yeah, I mean, you spend money on your graphics cards, right?
Glass cannons, yeah. Oh well.
And special edition 2000-watt power supplies.
Special edition.
Oh yeah, it's got the Bitcoin logo on it and everything.
The cheapest 2 kilowatt power supply you could find from AliExpress, I think it was, wasn't it?
It wasn't intentionally 2 kilowatt. It was just a case of I was looking at power supplies of a kilowatt or higher, and it happened to be about £100.
2 kilowatts for £100.
Yes.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yes, assuming it can deliver 97% of that.
We hope so, anyway. At allegedly platinum efficiency. Andrew Westaway with the 5 Canadian dollary dues. Thank you very much. Good day from Canada. My first live viewing. Welcome on in, dude. Welcome on in.
Congratulations, welcome.
Teltac, hello. How's it going? Andrew, how's it going? So how many coins are you hoping to mine? Well, you're not mining. You're folding, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Caradog is using his GPUs for a force of good.
Yes, absolutely, for science. The good kind of science, not the... Anyway, yes, for folding, for protein-related things.
Quite so, yes. So yes, we're not mining the things. Graham has half a mohawk going on. I do. I don't know what my hair is doing this week. It's doing that. However, anyone who's been around here for long enough knows that I've got a real bed head. This is not some kind of stylized bed head. This is a genuine bed head in that I just haven't brushed my hair. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And mine was doing it earlier, so.
Steve Higgins, I told my wife I was on an important Zoom call, so I can't do any housework. Try and sound businesslike, please.
Yes, well, you see, the figures in the third quarter were increasing by their projected 2.247%. However, we have been receiving issues with our EMA region with increased stiff competition.
Can I get the icon in cornflower blue?
This is the point where I realised that cornflowers are blue. Oh,
I was making a Fight Club reference, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was a really obscure Fight Club reference, so I'd have been impressed if anyone got that one.
I haven't seen Fight Club.
Really?
Still. Yes. Every time you reference it, we have this conversation, and then I'm like, yeah, I still haven't seen it.
Legitimately watch it. It's a good movie.
I don't deny,
Yeah.
but that means getting around to watching it.
Yeah.
And every time I go, oh, I'll watch something, I then also go,
Yeah.
it's also 2 a.m. I should probably just sleep instead.
Fight Club is one of those movies where there is a book. The book is slightly different to the movie, but they are both acceptable. Like the original author worked with the movie as well, so it's one of those ones where you can take, if you like to read books, then read the book. If you like to watch movies, then watch the movie. Both is completely fine. You'll get the real experience.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those stories where in a way, it's kind of like with the Rick and Morty problem, where everyone wants, everyone makes the mistake of wanting to be Rick, where it's just like, no, you idiot, that's the point. You don't want to be Rick. Rick's a dickhead. And it's the same with Fight Club. Everyone wants to be Tyler Durden. It's like, no, you moron. That's not what you're supposed to want.
I see.
Fight Club is literally a story about toxic masculinity. That is what it is. So yeah, but
fair enough, yes.
However, it's also a cracking good movie that makes you question the way you think and act a lot. And sometimes you need it makes you question that, but the resolution you're supposed to come to is just like, you know what, I'm okay the way I am. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess. Obviously, I've not seen it, so I can't. I'm not directly commenting on it. But kind of a case of kind of going, it being a commentary on toxic masculinity, but then saying you're okay as you are.
Yeah,
could be terribly construed by some categories of people.
Yes. Out of context, that sounds awful, but when you watch see, I don't want to give that context because then I'm going to start giving spoilers.
But as a...
Watch the movie. It's good.
Man.
Meatloaf is in it as well. When you see him, you'll be like, no! And it's just...
Yeah.
Heckin' Meatloaf.
I never got Memento?
Meatloaf?
No, the film.
Oh.
The film.
Memento.
Sorry. Yeah, Dave said about Fight Club, Memento, and Seven. Memento.
Yeah, Memento.
But
I'm not familiar.
I've seen it.
I've seen
it. I watched it and just kind of went, this is 7 minutes of story in a 2-hour film.
Ooh, yeah.
Because the premise is the person has short-term memory loss. I can't remember the actual proper condition. But they have a short-term memory loss. So they can't remember what they did yesterday. They can only remember stuff from before a traumatic event.
Yeah.
And the way they try and remember stuff and piece what happens is they write on themselves.
Okay,
And each morning they wake up and look at it. But they don't know what the writing is.
Yes.
So it's the story of them going through every day, trying to find out what the writing is, why there's writing on them, but also a case of what happened. But it's like a 7-minute story kind of thing.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's just like, it could have been more.
Yeah, they had
Or I feel like I missed the point.
They had a great premise, but they hadn't really evolved. They hadn't really realized the story, kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess
it's one of those. I see this a lot in amateur writing, where a lot of people will come up will in a conversation they'll say, "I've got this killer premise for a story." And they'll give sort of the tagline or like the first act or where the first act. Yeah, they'll give the first act kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, so what's your hook? How does this situation become extraordinary? And how are you going to resolve it? And then they're like, and I'm like, yeah, a great idea isn't enough. You need to be able to do something with that idea. And there's a lot of movies that have a really great idea, but aren't quite sure how to use it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. Before we go any further, I'm just going to roll back a little bit just to catch a couple of super chats and stuff that we had here. JB with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Which would you game on if they were the same price? A 6800 XT or an RTX 3070? You've got both and you're planning on selling one. It depends on what you're trying to do. The 6800 XT is faster, isn't it? Or do they trade blows?
I think so. I think it's faster in rasterized performance.
Yeah, yes. Which is what most people are doing, let's be real.
Yes. However, you obviously miss out on like NVIDIA
I
Studio,
was about to say, yeah,
DLSS.
that was going to be what I was going to say. Is I think the 6800
So
XT is
I don't
probably
know.
faster, but personally, I would take the 3070 for having all the perks of NVIDIA, like DLSS, NVIDIA Studio, NVENC, and stuff like that. I think the perks of NVIDIA outweigh the slight hit in performance. However, theoretically, 6800 XT is faster. So if you just want pure gaming performance, 6800 XT.
Yeah.
However, the RTX 3070 has got more party tricks if you use those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It also partially to me, based on the graphics cards I have and so on, because that's a consideration to have as well. Other stuff that you have, but it would depend on which models I had. Because like if I had an EVGA 3070,
Yeah.
it was one of the the really nice 3070s.
Yeah.
But it was the really meh 6800
Yeah.
XT. Because of the other stuff I have, I'd probably keep the EVGA one. But if it was like a Sapphire Nitro
Yeah.
Plus 6800 XT or something like that, I'd keep that.
Yeah.
And so there are factors outside of the performance that I would consider because I've got other graphics cards and things like that. So it depends. Raw rasterized performance, 6800 XT, all of the party trick bits, 3070s. However, that can be swung either way if one works particularly well as the aesthetic in your build kind of thing, or as a particularly nice addition.
Yes. Yep. Hope that answers your question. Colonel Wrecker and hang on a sec. Ye Old Techie. There we go. Colonel Wrecker and Ye Old Techie, thank you very much for the channel memberships. Welcome aboard. Then also just rolling back to another interesting one. Actually, I'm going to come back to that in a sec. I just saw Noel Dow's comment about the Dell G5, which I actually want to talk about that because I have opinions. I've got hot takes on that I want to talk about, but I'm just going to check if there's any quick things to catch up on in the chat first. Yeah, no, I think we're good. Watching Inception while inebriated is not recommended. Inception is a cracking good movie for the entertainment factor.
Yes.
I still think it's not a film you can try and take literally. And like when you start talking about lucid dreaming and stuff like that, it's just like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. However, as a movie and as a visual spectacular masterpiece, it's fantastic. Just Inception horn, if nothing else. So,
I like the fact that it was also that was a piece of music slowed down.
Oh yeah, the Inception horn, yeah,
and just stuff like that.
It's very,
there
very
was
clever.
A lot of attention to detail through it. In a lot of places, but also there are some bits where there kind of wasn't. But overall,
if you accept
surprisingly good.
If you accept their arbitrary rules, then everything is fine, basically.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah.
Okay, so let's kick into a discussion. Also, someone said still doing a 2-hour stream. Colonel Wrecker, yes, we're still limiting to 2 hours.
Give or take a couple of minutes for the flow of a conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
Basically.
Right. So, Gamers Nexus made some waves this week with a double video that was a review of the Dell G5 5000, so-called gaming PC. $900 of e-waste and bloatware and stuff like that. So firstly, I'm just going to preface this by saying I've watched about 5 or 10 minutes of the first video that was about the hardware and nothing else of it. And I want to tell you why that video kind of annoyed me, but why there's... I don't know, I want to talk about the takeaways of that video. I got annoyed and actually clicked off of the video because it was annoying me, because in the first video about the hardware, Steve is taking apart the Dell and he's showing sort of the cheap front panel and he's showing the proprietary motherboard and stuff like that. And he's going, oh, and this is all proprietary. And as you can see, there's, this front panel, there's only airflow here and stuff like that. And basically, the long and the short of it is, I'm just like, it's an OEM PC. What the hell did you expect it to be? Basically. And the way he was handling it made it seem to me like he's never seen an OEM PC. And now let's make I want to make a distinction here between a system integrator build, like say PC Specialist, where they're using aftermarket components like Asus, Corsair, well-known brands to build a PC and supply it to a customer, and an OEM PC where most of it is all proprietary because you're trying to build a computer for as cheap as humanly possible, like a Dell, a HP, an Acer, etc., etc. And it seemed to me like he was like, I find it impossible to believe that he's never seen an OEM PC before, but he was acting like he'd never seen an OEM PC before. And that really rubbed me the wrong way, because I'm just like, I deal with these kinds of PCs every day. And he was just like, oh, look at this, it's proprietary. I'm like, yeah, it's a Dell. What did you think it was going to be? And yeah, and it kind of bothered me. And I was just like, you're complaining that an OEM PC is not this super high performance customizable masterpiece that a custom build would be. Movie at 11. I think it's a non-issue. And like the bloat where I can kind of understand, that's in a way another discussion, but
my issue with it is the fact that people have that response of, well, what did you expect? It's an OEM PC. If it makes sense, because that's the point of it being a computer. If that makes sense, is the fact that you can replace a part in it. My issue with it is also from a right to repair point of view.
Yeah.
In the fact of, it's got a proprietary motherboard, it's got a CPU cooler that screws into the case. Yeah. It's a lump of metal with a fan on that I literally can't reuse somewhere else. And stuff like that, for no particular benefit of the end user and stuff like that. So it's kind of... It's the fact that it is supposedly acceptable and the fact that it is supposedly common is my issue with it. Not explicitly that Dell are doing it and not singling them out for doing it, but the fact that it is acceptable.
Yeah.
But also the fact of it being sold as a gaming computer kind of thing. I'd have expected it to have been more standardized. Because if someone's getting into gaming, they're probably going to want to upgrade it in 12, 18, 24 months.
I think
if it's all super custom and like super cheap RAM and things like that, it's just kind of a case of it's...
I think perhaps in that case, I feel like perhaps what bothered me then is, that's a very reasonable answer, and I think that's a very obvious reasonable answer as well. And also, where was it? Dave Bell just said, UI and Steve all know the difference between it. It's just like, obviously, most purchasers do not. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah.
And I think that's the point as well, is kind of GN were blasting to the general public, not the PC building community.
Yeah. And I think perhaps my issue there is, in a way, I feel like, in that case, what bothers me is the framing of the video, in that they were gunning after this specific computer, where really perhaps their issue is not with the Dell G5 5000 or whatever it was, but with OEM PCs in general, just the state of OEM PCs, and perhaps perhaps what bothers me is just the way that it is pitched or framed.
Possibly, because they do specifically say in the video that this is one of their videos in the series they're doing on trying to find a good OEM PC. Because they do specifically say several times in the video that they're trying to find good OEM PCs to recommend.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the case of, I feel like possibly that bit was missed. It wasn't in the right place in the video for people to pick up on. But I don't know if they are doing it in volume, but they are certainly saying that they're looking for good OEM PCs.
Yeah, and I think he does also say, and I did see the bit in the video where he goes sort of, it's okay to buy an off-the-shelf computer and stuff like that. And,
absolutely.
I appreciated that, and I appreciate, like, that was obviously a message that they wanted to convey. It's just like, not everyone wants to build a PC, and he did the bit where he was like, I don't want to do an oil change on my car. I'm going to pay someone else to do that for me, etc., etc.
Yeah,
entirely reasonable. I feel that entirely,
and it's. I feel it's valid to attack Dell for that computer.
Yeah.
It is utterly unacceptable to attack people who buy that computer.
Yeah, that's not what I think anyone is doing.
But just a case of to differentiate the ire that is felt, it should not be aimed at the people who are buying
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's true.
It should be aimed at the people who are supplying the thing
Yeah.
to those people, especially if those people don't know better, especially
Yeah.
if those people don't care to know better. They should still be provided with a quality device.
Yeah.
Because I think, complete tangent, but Techmoan, another YouTube channel about technology related stuff, home electronic stuff, he did a review on a mini system from Sony that was built down to a price, but it was built down to a price in 2004-5,
Yeah.
and it still used really high quality components by comparison, and it like used official branded motors and stuff for the tape deck and things like that. And it's a case of, yes, I'm buying a cheap device, I don't expect it to be the best, but I still expect it to be built well. I still expect care in its creation, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's those two camps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, a lot of people say, so, oh, you know, Marcus just said if it wasn't called a gaming PC, it wouldn't have been reviewed at all. So yeah, perhaps the issue here was not so much that it was made, is just the fact that they are marketing it to go toe to toe with real gaming PCs. In which case, absolutely, in that case, it's going to be subject to the same level of scrutiny.
Yeah.
And yeah, for $900. So
It's a good price for It's a good
That's
build
the
for
thing.
$900.
I don't think the price was that bad. Yeah.
Raw component wise, actual components used, yes, it was bad value, but the actual specifications, headline specifications, were fine. If that makes sense, that's a huge differentiation though.
Yeah.
Because if you use like a standard Pout 1660 or something,
Yeah.
or a standard Asus 1660, would have been fine.
Yeah.
Because it's a special custom Dell one with a weird crappy cooler and a weird crappy firmware on it. It's now a bit
Yeah.
because it uses this weird motherboard. It's kind of the fact it uses a single stick of RAM is a bit you know, it's none of it is wrong and bad and breaking it, but it's just kind of a case of it's all a bit
Yeah.
it is built so far down to a price
Yeah.
that it's a shame that the volume discount wasn't used on half decent stuff, kind of thing.
Yes. They could have done something.
that line.
Yeah. I almost feel like it's a computer where they've taken a pleb tier OEM computer and they've spec'd it up too high. So now it has no choice but to be compared in equivalently high categories.
Yeah,
You know.
kind of. It almost feels like it's too high a tier.
Yeah.
from
Like
it.
if it had like a GT 730 in it and an i3,
You'd
no
expect
one
that to
would
be-
blink an eye.
Yeah, you'd
it's
expect
it's
it
a
to be
family
quality.
multimedia computer.
Yeah,
No one would care. But because it's got a gaming graphics card in it, and what even was
I
the
think
CPU?
it had an i7.
Yeah, probably an i7. Yeah,
But yeah,
then you've kind of got no choice but to compare it versus a gaming PC. In which case,
Yeah.
it's not going to do very well. So yeah, I don't know.
it's also
I don't,
just kind of
something about the video just made me feel like they were just taking a cheap shot at low-hanging fruit and going, ha ha, here's an OEM PC that we can use as a punching bag. But I don't know, like
I guess it depends
I know what you mean,
on the
because
category of viewer that it's aimed at.
yeah, because I completely get what you're saying, where it's more of a matter of, no, Steve is looking for a good OEM PC to recommend to people.
Yeah.
And so they looked at this one, and this one fell short of the mark.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it was just
And
the fact
also-
of, I don't know, yeah, it was just the way that he seemed surprised. And I know that to a certain extent,
You have to be to
Yeah.
get YouTube to work.
yeah. Do you think that he, to a certain extent, he was playing it up for I don't. It's not fair to say he was playing it up for clickbait value, but obviously, like you say, you have to provide a certain level of entertainment in order to engage the unwashed masses. So,
Yeah, and it was a case of it's very much trying to get the message to people who don't know what an SI is,
yeah,
compared to people who know what an SI is compared to Dell.
yeah,
Kind of thing. It's trying to get to those people who don't know the difference to kind of go to them, be aware of this device, be
Yeah.
aware that there are these issues with it, and it's a case of in a few years you might not be able to do anything useful with it.
yeah. That's fair. Yeah,
And whereas obviously if you had spent maybe £10, maybe $20 more kind of
Yeah.
thing, and bought something from a different supplier with a fractionally lower list spec,
Mm.
it would have actually lasted longer, maybe ended up with more USB on it, so it would have been less annoying over its life. Weird little things like that. But then you kind of could have gone, oh, actually, we'll swap the motherboard because it's failed. And, oh, that will be $35, $40 for a cheap one off of eBay, as opposed to, oh, it's a proprietary job. No, you basically need a new PC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. Again, I think
there's a
I guess
huge
it,
number of angles that you can take
yeah.
it from.
I think for me, I don't now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I disagree with the video or its results or anything like that. I don't know. I think I just would have preferred it if it was framed slightly differently. But then on the other hand, I'm not trying to appease the algorithm in the way that the big channels have to.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think I guess for me, it just would have been. I think it would have been. I would have appreciated the video more if it was framed as a, here's everything wrong with this PC, here's how it could have been and should have been, and like with our insider knowledge of manufacturing, we know for a fact that they could have been building a computer like this that doesn't have proprietary components and that performs much better, and the cost price would have been fractionally, if it would have been slightly higher, but if we take into account Dell's buying power, they could easily have achieved this if they'd wanted to. So it's more of a case of here's everything wrong with the state of OEM PCs right now, in a sense of more just sort of lol, Dell made a bad PC kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like if it didn't have to do well on YouTube, it would be fine.
I would love to know. This is one of those times where it's a case of I'd love to know how much it. I say it as if it's insider knowledge, but I mean, if Steve were in the room now, I'd want to say, what did you actually want to make with that video, and what did you, and how was that video framed with reference to making a successful YouTube video? Because again, I'm fully aware that you're having to strike that balance, and that's a really hard balance to strike. And I know the feel as well, because with the way that the Adamant IT channel is at the moment, I'm very much in a stage of I've surged up to 100,000 and then just gone level out. Like the channel has just flatlined at 100,000 subscribers. I'm like, whoa, the growth has just gone and just stopped. And I'm like, what has just happened, and what do I need to do to fix that? Because while I'm not in trouble or anything like that, all of the expansion, the new shop and all of that was all budgeted based on zero future growth. And I'm bloody glad I did that now, because zero future growth is exactly what I've ended up with at the moment.
At the moment,
So, I know the feels full well, but it's always interesting, considering Gamers Nexus are obviously super into journalism, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way, I mean that in a genuine sense. They're trying to...
That looked very sarcastic.
Yes. I mean, they are trying to provide quality IT journalism, and I fully respect that, and I think that's great. However, obviously, it'd be interesting to know how much of that they are knowingly having to sacrifice or skew in order to, because obviously their journalism is worth nothing if no one sees it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I feel
I'm kind of just spouting words here, if you see what I mean.
Yes, it's also a case of how much do they care about the next million subscribers? How much do they care about the next 10 million views?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Are they particularly concerned about that? Because I feel like they're not particularly concerned about it overall now, because their store is doing well, because their Patreon is doing well, because their Discord is constantly so busy that you can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because all of that stuff is very well built.
They have enough.
Their community is very working.
Yeah.
I feel like they probably don't need to be concerned about it so much, because they have, say, 10, 20,000 people who are invested viewers and so on, who will share that content anyway. who will share it into the places it needs to get to. So yeah, and it's a very particular style in the fact that it is raw hard data kind of thing.
Yeah.
It is not explicitly an entertainment channel.
Yeah, they've got themselves a very nice niche that is working for them.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
they're very good at what they do.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
and I feel like people, to a degree, miss that it's when they say, oh, the videos are too graph heavy, oh, there's too much talking. It's a case of, well, no, you're supposed to take a 2-second snippet of it and go, oh, this is the graph I'm interested in. Watch the bit about the graph, the explainer of the graph, watch the conclusion kind of thing.
Yeah,
and just pick out the bits that you're particularly thinking about at that time about that product.
When people tell me that Gamers Nexus is too dry, I'm just like, yeah, you're in the wrong channel then.
Kind of, yeah. But it's specifically crafted to be that, because it's designed to be a case of, like, I watch it all the way through, certainly their reviews and stuff, but I watch it at 2x.
Yeah.
I watch it at 2x, and I'm just there, and I'm listening, I'm 3/4 listening for them to say, this wasn't expected, this wasn't in line, this was weird, to then go, oh, skip back a couple of seconds, actively listen to it and go, oh, so this one was performing weird in this circumstance.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what they say about that. Do they say hardware defect, weird driver problem? It's kind of from that point of view to then go, if someone pops up saying, oh, I've got this issue, you can kind of go, oh yeah, GN said something about that. Let's find the video, let's find what they said. Oh, okay, well, maybe you might have to go back to support and get new drivers or something. Weird things like that.
Yeah.
So that's how I use it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a case of, it's YouTube, you can use it however you want.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, catching up on chat a little bit. Dave Bell said earlier on that apparently that PC is 1150 Great British pounds in the UK. And in which case, that's horrendous. That's terrible, Muriel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's genuinely horrendous. Especially because, like, also, in the UK, the graphics card situation is not as bad as it is in the US. It's still bad. We can't buy graphics cards.
Yeah.
But we're not seeing the kind of hyperinflation of prices like the US is seeing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, I've no idea what current US pricing is because I just stopped looking because I got so kind of... I just got...
You're like, no more.
Yeah.
More.
Well, the fact that I was seeing GPUs sell out in 10 or 15 seconds... And they were at like $2,500 for like 3060 and 3070s.
Yeah,
and I was just like,
still selling at that kind of price.
Yeah, and they were selling that fast. I was just like, what?
Yeah, at some point it does beg the question: how expensive does a graphics card have to go before the entire world says, no, I'm not willing to spend that much?
Yeah,
because that was the like, no matter how desperate I am, I'm just like, how expensive is too expensive? No matter how, like. When there's one of them on sale in the world, you can't buy it anywhere else, and the person says it's $3,000, and you're just like, if I say no to this, I can't have a graphics card for another 12 to 18 months.
Yeah,
how expensive is too expensive? That's it's one of those, like, it basically it's at the point where it's just like there was a point where we needed to stop, and we have clearly passed it. But let's keep going and see what happens.
Kind of. But yeah, I think it also shows, to a degree, an awful lot of the people who are saying that, oh, computer parts are too expensive. Yes and no. I feel like there isn't enough separation in price. Like, the top end is too cheap. This is showed that the top end is too cheap. Because Nvidia, AMD, they want to make their money. So make a top end card that's $6,000. Make it a limited edition one. Make it so there's only 25,000 of them made, but make it $6,000, $7,000, $8,000.
How much did the Titan used to cost compared to the 80 Ti? Because that was the thing. The Titan was supposed to be the bonkers. You're not actually supposed to buy this, but sure, we make it anyway.
I think for the 900 series, it was an extra 1,000.
Yeah. See, there's
No, it wasn't. No, the extra 800.
Yeah.
I think in the UK it was an extra £800.
So
over the 980s.
Yeah. So there's your bonkers expensive one, effectively.
But I still think it's too cheap. This is proven that it was still too cheap, because Nvidia could come out and say, here is a 3090 Ti, MSRP $3,500. keep it in stock, and it would still sell.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's kind of my point. I realize now is not the
Yeah.
perfect time to be proving that,
Yeah.
but it is kind of a case of you'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
I
There's
don't
going to be some
understand why their Halo products aren't so skewed, because like Nike does it.
Yeah, I think the problem there is that I see. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go onto a little rant here, but before I do that, I'm just gonna quickly just. There was a couple of super chats. I'm about to start ranting, so I'm gonna quickly cover this now. Demny BS, thank you for the $10. A little something for you. Leave the stream playing, but may not be around. Have a happy lurk. Thank you very much. And Stephen Bradley, welcome to Tier 1 channel membership as well. Thank you very much. So here's my little rant. Is I think the reason behind that is that there's an expectation for the top end to be affordable. And this is, I lay the blame for this entirely at tech YouTube's feet. Because now you see where I'm going. Yeah. So now let me tell you guys a story.
I know your exact examples.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now let me tell you a story. I did. There was a build on my. There was a build on the channel. Back in September, November, something like that. It was in a white Corsair 275R Airflow, and it had a 3900X in it and a 2080 Super. 2080 Super. 2080 Super 3900X build. And that was done for a kid who wanted to play Fortnite. Basically, the father came in and was just like, right, my boy wants a gaming PC. I want to buy him something special. And, it's a case, this is going to be a treat for him. He buys this, he looks after it, he understands the value of it, stuff like that. This isn't, now, just to put things straight, I've got customers who come in and I look at the customer, I talk to the customer, I'm like, you have too much money, sir. I don't care for you. And he drives off in his stupid Range Rover. This was not one of those customers. This was a genuine blue-collar chap who just wanted to give his son a special treat, so he had a really nice gaming computer to play his games on, and stuff like that. Something to last him through school, etc., etc. You get the point. So the problem is that, however, the boy child, had spent all of his time watching tech YouTube, watching Linus Tech Tips, watching all the other tech channels, and all of those tech channels have been telling him that he needed a 2080 Ti, and he needed a 3950X, and he needed, a whatever the hyper expensive, the Halo products, because that's what's flashy on YouTube, right? You build it because YouTube is full of adverts saying, I built my dream $10,000 PC kind of thing. And those kinds of builds, those aren't real computers. That's not what the average person buys or what the average person needs.
But not just that. It's not what the average YouTuber who is making those is actually using.
Exactly.
They will build that computer, then strip it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. However, that's the thing is that, but all the kids are watching YouTube and believing that that's what they got to go out and buy. So Dad comes in and says to me, sort of, he wants it to have a 2080 Ti, and I said to him, the 2080 Ti at the time is like £500 or £600 more than the 2080 Super, and the 2080 Super is already a stonking fast graphics card. You don't need to spend another £500 for the 2080 Ti kind of thing. And I managed to talk him down from the 2080 Ti to save him £500 for that extra 15 or 20 FPS kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
But the point is that, and even now, that computer comes back in every couple of months for service because the kid has installed a whole bunch of crap on it. Most recently, it's that one. Most recently, it came in because the kid's idiot friend had come in and run a Windows 10 debloat software on it and completely butchered the Windows 10 install.
Oh, no.
Anyone who is in the Adamant IT Discord in the exclusive chat, anyone who's just in the Adamant IT Discord would have seen me posting in the software support room saying, I've got a Windows 10 build that's been debloated and it's fucking ruined. Nothing on it worked. half the system services didn't work. You couldn't do anything on it.
Yeah,
I couldn't use disk part on it.
Yeah, it was so broken that the basic services
Yep.
weren't there.
That's right.
And it was just like, no, this isn't debloated. This is just sabotage.
Yeah, but this is the thing. So coming back to my point is that this is the thing is the child and his friends all watch Tech YouTube, and Tech YouTube is all going, you've got to debloat Windows, that'll make you go faster. And I was looking at this PC, and it had gamer VPNs that are supposed to lower your ping, and it had all of these reduce lag, reduce input latency, reduce your ping time, all of this stuff installed, where Tech YouTube is teaching kids that they have to have the very best. If they don't have these Halo projects, they're no good. Frames win games. Just off with all of that.
I feel like that's an entirely different conversation.
Okay.
It shouldn't be tarred with the same brush as that software. Because Frame Wins Games has a degree of actual hard science behind it.
Yes.
Gaming VPNs, there's nothing even close to science that you could apply to that.
Okay, yeah. However, generally speaking, though, you see the point. And this
no, indeed.
Right.
But just to avoid tarring
I'll
high
give you
refresh rate with the brush of each trash when you have high refresh rate monitors yourself.
Yeah, fair enough. So at any rate, though, so this is the thing: is that is the mainstream market of kids who are watching Tech YouTube, and that they have been taught that they have to have the Halo products. So such, it seems like the Nvidia et al. Are all sort of going. They feel obligated that these Halo products have to be affordable, otherwise they'll be slated for making these things hyper expensive. And it's just so they're stuck between this rock and a hard place of the Halo product. Like you say, Nike can sell a pair of trainers for $6,000. Well, okay, I don't know how much they cost. I
50.
I wear walking shoes, man. 50,000. Oh God, I wish I hadn't asked.
Yeah.
However, if Nvidia actually sold a product, if they actually sold a hyper graphics card, if they sold a hyper card and said it costs $10,000, which would be pretty generous if we're going by these scales then, people would have their guts for garters over it.
Which is why I feel like they should be called limited editions. And why they should be restricted to 20,000 runs.
Yeah.
But it's 20,000 of the blue edition. And then there's a green edition. Then there's a pink edition.
Yeah.
So they're not actually particularly limited, but they're called limited edition ones. So they're not actually the Halo product. They're just the super Halo priced product kind of thing, to avoid some of that marketing slap that they would get from the not actual Tech YouTube.
Yes, I see what you
So
mean.
I feel like this isn't a problem that I've seen from the people I watch, like GN, like LTT, like get them, who the hell are the Australian ones who I keep forgetting? Hardware Unboxed.
Hardware Unboxed.
Other Steve, Australian Steve. Like those channels, Tech Yes City. The other one who specializes in secondhand computers. Low frame rate gamer, low end hardware gamer.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Ultra below minimum settings gamer man channel. That one. Those people, all of them seem to have a very strong grounding in actual knowledge of the technology, of the hardware and what it does. And they're all not pushing that stuff. And they're all calling it the high-end stuff you don't need to buy. The flashy, pointless stuff. So I'm wondering what channels it is, or how the message is being understood.
I think it's probably a mixture between some sensationalist channels, because I think they're out there, because I would wager that if I went to my YouTube recommendations page, or Lord forbid the homepage, there'd probably be, if I started scrolling, I'd probably start seeing clickbait thumbnails of some really trashy tech YouTube channels, that were pushing this stuff, that they get the kids because they've got and I'm like, we're not talking just Linus Tech Tips clickbait here, we're talking turbo, shameless clickbait. We don't care that we're clickbait. We're not just trying to survive clickbait. We literally don't care we're clickbait kind of thing.
I guess also and then hitting the Fortnite. Hitting Fortnite type idea correctly.
That's right.
Hitting the Minecraft idea correctly.
Roblox, because you need a 2080 Ti for your Roblox, I'd imagine. Yes, it's still big.
No, sorry, yes, Roblox. I can't remember where I was looking at it, but they reported a profit last year of 2020. I think it was 4 billion,
Yeah.
$3 billion,
Oof.
and I was just like, Roblox don't even make anything. Roblox just provides the ability for other people who make the games.
Yeah. Yep. However, I think it's a mixture of
Sorry, what?
yeah, I think it's a
Hi.
mixture of there's probably a great deal of trashy YouTube channels out there that are responsible for this, and also to a certain extent just misinterpretation. Case in point,
Yeah.
the Gamers Nexus mount it with the hoses down fiasco. Now, this is I'm generalizing a little bit just to provide something that we all have familiar ground with. When Gamers Nexus did the video saying you should be mounting your AIO with the hoses down, now that video was grossly misinterpreted by the vast majority of viewers.
I feel like almost to the point of being willfully misinterpreted.
Exactly. It wasn't GN's fault.
Yeah.
However, that's what people's takeaway was.
Yeah.
So it might be that you and I watch these sensible tech YouTubers who we feel are providing good, informative, good videos. However, the kids just look at that. The kids, person on YouTuber says, this is the new 3090 RTX 3090 Ti. This graphics card isn't intended for mainstream users. Watcher goes, that means I need one. No, he literally just said it's not for you.
But I want it.
Yeah, and it's just so I think that's where this comes in basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's
yeah. So yeah. So that's the thing, and also and I'm not saying that this is anyone's fault. It's just kind of the way it goes. It's the MTV problem. The cribs issue. You look at people who've got lots of money in nice homes, and you think, I want that. In the same way that I just saw Twitch come up in the channel. When you watch Twitch and you watch the big Twitch streamers, and they've got their massive fancy gaming rooms with all the lighting and all of the collectibles on show, and all of the pretty, and kids are just like, I want a room like that, and it's just like, yeah, it's really nice, but that's a studio. That's not a real person's room. That's a studio.
I regularly look at those and go, I wish I could keep a room that tidy.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. It's awesome, and I think it looks cool as well. But I also look at those and understand that is a studio.
Oh yeah, but I'm just like, man, imagine if I could keep my house that tidy.
Yeah.
Imagine if I could do that, man. And then I go and just kind of pile another box up somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yes, maybe this is the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. That's the end of that, I guess. So I'm gonna try and catch up and chat a little bit now, I think. But yeah, I don't know. That was my rant.
Yeah, I guess it's just interesting that the same thing hasn't really happened with like supercars or like.
I think that's because
kind of things like that, because they are so detached in price.
Yeah.
And because you have to be older to buy one, and because you need like a driver's license and things like that. So it's much harder, and it takes much longer to buy one.
Yeah.
As well. You have to go somewhere. You have to physically talk to someone in most circumstances. You have to physically place an order. You have to wait. You have to go back. Kind of stuff like this. There's lots of points where you kind of go, oh, should I have done this?
Yeah. And it's kind of also a fact of like, when you come to cars and stuff like that as well, is that when you actually have a car and you're driving a car, you're very aware of the fact that you're piloting a large vehicle. And if you bash into something, it's going to crunch the side of the corner into it, and you will be sad about it. Whereas when you have your stupid £1,400 iPhone, it's just a thing in your hand, and it's very difficult. This is not a £1,400 iPhone; it's just a phone. It's very difficult to it's a very difficult separation to have a brick in your hand that is £1,400. It doesn't look like £1,400. Whereas when you drive around in a very expensive car, you're in a very expensive car. Yeah. And that if you ding it, it's going to be very expensive,
Yeah.
Not saying that there aren't people who have cars that are too expensive for their own good, but it's certainly not the same thing.
It's certainly not as common.
Yeah.
Or they're more expensive for their own good for different reasons.
Yeah. It's certainly not the same.
Yes, I feel like certainly in a lot of circumstances where people have cars that are too expensive for them, it isn't a case that the car is too expensive. It's a fact that they aren't in a good position. More so, kind of thing. It's a different issue.
Yeah, and something also like I'm not sure if anyone has said anything specifically in chat, but I also just want to clarify that if you do happen to have a really expensive PC with all singing, all dancing Halo products in, this isn't a jab at you or anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't build these computers.
Absolutely.
Because to be honest, if you have a computer like that and you're listening to this conversation, you're probably not one of the people that I'm talking about. You probably worked very hard for that and you greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
However, that I'm referring to specific. However, I think we all know what I'm talking about at the very least.
Also, certainly the people who having a high-end computer isn't actually within their means.
Yes.
So they are very much denying themselves other things that they possibly actually need more.
Yes.
To overbuy.
Yes, I agree.
When you're in the category of going, I'm buying a fancy computer and it's 5,000-6,000 currency.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
it's a lot of. It's a lot of.
You're pleading poverty.
But when you're doing it and kind of going, oh, that's a lot of currency, but I want it, so yeah, all right. When you're in that group, it's completely different to when you're then pleading poverty, as you said. Yeah, so it's yes, that.
But then it's difficult to we'll leave that one there because that also opens up a can of worms on a similar subject that I'm not going to get into. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, good talk. Let's jump into something a bit more technical. PC Bolt just said earlier on, Graham, how can we actually calculate the efficiency of VRM, like directly measuring current and voltage on 12-volt rail, and also calculation of CPU power draw? Would this be accurate and useful? So if you want to get into that, we're getting into actually hardcore overclocking territory here. We're getting into Buildzoid's wheelhouse for VRM efficiency and stuff. So you can. A basic way to start off with this is get yourself the latest version of hardware monitor, HW monitor, and when you run that up, modern hardware monitor can show you the package draw of your CPU in watts, so you can see how much power your CPU is actually drawing in watts.
Oh, that one.
And there's two ways that you can calculate the efficiency of your VRM. You can do a practical experiment where you could buy a clamp meter, and you could put the clamp meter through the 12-volt wires of your CPU power cable. So you've got your 8-pin CPU power cable going to the motherboard. If you separate out the black ground wires and the yellow 12-volt wires, and you put a clamp meter around the 12-volt wires, you can measure the currents going through that cable. And that tells you how, from that current, you can determine how much power is going into the motherboard. And then you can check the power draw on the CPU from hardware monitor to see how much power the CPU is consuming. And the difference between those two is going to give you the efficiency, because you're going to find that the power draw through the cable is higher than what the CPU is reporting, because some of it is being wasted in conversion in the VRM. That is a practical way of measuring it. However, another way...
But won't be super accurate.
Not going to be particularly accurate.
It will be accurate enough for you to go, there is a fault.
Yeah, it's a practical demonstration on seeing the effect of efficiency of going, this computer is consuming more power than it is reporting to have used.
Yeah.
There is you can observe losses.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Then if you wanted to go super accurate, you would have to look up what VRMs you actually have. So let's say you've got, let's say this is easier to do on higher end motherboards that use power stages. Because if you look up the actual power stages that the board has, do I have a board that's got power stages to hand? I don't think no, I don't. If you look up the actual power stages that the board uses and you look up the data sheet for them, the data sheet will tell you what the efficiency curve of that power stage is, and you will see a graph where it will show you at X many amps, it is X amount, it is Y efficiency. And there'll be a curve where, it'll start very low, and then at like 50% of its maximum throughput, it will reach peak efficiency, and it will stay around that point. And then as it reaches maximum capacity, it drops off. And from there, you can then just sit down with a calculator and figure out, okay, well, across 10 of these power stages with a 120 amp load from the CPU, we've got this amount of efficiency. And that's how you calculate it. You've got to sit down and do a lot of maths, but that's how you would figure it out. And at that point, I would strongly recommend watching some Buildzoid videos from actually hardcore overclocking, because he sits and he talks about these numbers in his motherboard overviews, where he'll say, this board has these power stages, and at 100 amps, it's going to pull this much and produce 15 watts of heat. And
What
so on
is
and so
that
forth.
accent?
It's my Buildzoid accent, because he's got a weird mixture of British and American.
Okay.
I thought it was a reasonably good impression.
It was far too energized.
I love you, Buildzoid, if you're watching. You're a good egg. You're doing God's work. Anyway, but yeah, if you want to get into that, actually hardcore overclocking is the channel you want to be watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I guess the question is why you're asking the question.
Yes.
What kind of answer you're looking for, if it's purely a case of...
What are you trying to achieve?
Or if it's a case of, because I can. If
Yeah.
it's
I
a
want
case
to
of,
learn more about it.
I want to learn more, then absolutely, yes. If it's a case of you're trying to fix an actual problem, what's the actual problem?
Yes, agreed. See, efficiency in VRM is... there's times where it matters and times where it doesn't particularly matter. On low to mid-range boards, it's kind of relevant, because low to mid-range boards, heat in your VRM is the enemy. And that heat is because because they don't have terribly efficient VRMs, so you've got to have a big heatsink on it. Whereas, ironically, top-end motherboards with massive VRM heatsinks on them also have really good VRMs that don't need a heatsink because they're really efficient. So it's a funny irony.
It's like the I've forgotten what the top end Gigabyte Z570 board is.
Yeah.
But that one, the VRMs on it are capable of doing just over a kilowatt, I think, at like peak theoretical throughput. But under a normal load, under the i9 what's it, K, super overclocked, like the highest you can get it on air,
Yeah.
the VRMs don't need a heatsink.
Yeah. Precisely that.
At all.
Yeah.
Not just, for a suicide run they don't need it. Daily running they don't need it, because they're putting out like 1.8 watts of heat per power stage or something. And it's just like, and we have large heat sinks on these because
that's what is a measure of a good a good motherboard. Yeah, it's just again what the YouTube audience expects of a board. And I wonder how much the YouTube tech scene has influenced the design of motherboards from that perspective.
I feel like a little bit, because I know that Buildzoid does specifically work with Gigabyte.
Yeah.
And that's nothing but a good thing.
Absolutely. Just because Buildzoid actually knows what he's talking about and can actually say to them, yes, this is relevant. No, this is not relevant.
But also the case of he doesn't care whether it looks pretty or not.
Yeah.
Just like he doesn't care about fast SSDs, because a slow SSD is already fast enough. Kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There are certain types...
I mean that very much in the sense of, because as a user, you can't tell. So he's like, I don't care.
Yes.
As long as it's fast enough that I can't tell,
yes,
it doesn't matter anymore.
Although
I'm not benchmarking in that wheelhouse.
Although sometimes, sometimes you have to watch his content understanding his particular perspective, because sometimes he'll say sort of, this isn't important, not because it's not important, it's just not important for his use case, which is generally competitive overclocking. But he often forgets to specify, this may be relevant to you if you're doing XYZ though. However, of course, again...
but normal people don't exist.
Yeah, but also, of course, it's a matter of, he's a very, very niche channel, and if you're not doing what he's doing, why are you even watching him, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. So it's kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very specific content. So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yes. Let's see. Digging up a little bit, we had Christopher David with the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Christopher David. Love your show. Trying to decide on the best camera for an AmScope microscope. Any guidance would be appreciated. Oh, I appreciate the super chat, but I have not got an answer to your question there, because I don't know my microscopes very well. However, there are absolutely a bunch of people in the Discord who know their microscopes. Yeah, AmScope, he's talking
Oh
expensive
God,
here.
that's
Yeah.
an actual proper jobby.
Yeah,
With like the counterbalancedness
That's right.
and the.
He's not talking
Oh,
about one
Lord.
of the AliExpress specials here. He's talking about an actual microscope.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I want one.
Yeah. So do I. I just can't justify one. Yeah.
That has fewer numbers in it than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be $5,000.
No,
I
they're
was
not that
expecting like
expensive.
£5,000,
Yeah.
and it's like 600. Alright, okay.
Yeah.
That's shockingly reasonable compared to my expectation.
But yes.
It's not cheap,
Yep.
but shockingly reasonable compared to my expectation.
Suffice to say, though, I think we've got a couple of bods in the Adamant IT Discord who know their microscopes. Failing that, you might want to jump into somewhere like the Lewis Rossman Discord, because there'll be a whole bunch of board repair specialists there who know their microscopes and scope cameras very well. So that would be my recommendation there. So yes. Also, just quickly following up on PC Bolt again, HW monitor is 100% accurate. 100% accurate is a difficult thing to answer correctly. HW monitor is probably one of the best internal monitorings that you're going to get. However, keep in mind that it's only as good as the data it's given.
Yeah.
And the data it's given is coming from your motherboard. So that's going to depend on your motherboard and how good the motherboard measurements are, how honest the motherboard is as well, because there are certain numbers. There are certain numbers that the motherboard will fiddle with in order to, like, motherboards can fiddle with the apparent power usage to trick the CPU into thinking it's using less power, so the CPU boosts harder, and and so on and so forth. So difficult to give a straight answer to that one. However, it's a good place to start at the very least.
Absolutely. And also, it's a case of it depends on the timescale you're talking about for accuracy, because CPU loads are picoseconds. They are, they are 600 times a second. It's switching its loads around and stuff like that. So it depends on the timescale you're talking about for accuracy. If you're talking about an average over an hour of load, yeah, of course, absolutely. If you're talking about to the picosecond of accuracy, well, no, the measurement for that is virtually impossible, kind of thing. So
when we're talking about this, you can start straying into the realms of transient and stuff like that, and this is where you get into the realm where transient loads are, where you're getting into the realms of kind of like with the 3080 requiring a really big PSU, because sometimes it can spike to 600 watts for a fraction of a second. It's not actually using 600 watts, but it might just give a quick boop as it just bangs on load or something like that. So it's like you don't actually need that much power on tap, but you need to be able to cope with that transient.
Yeah.
And you're getting into you're getting into the weeds basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the degree of accuracy you're looking for and the time scale you're looking over.
Yeah, that's right. Firephone, best cam for streaming on a budget. Do you mean just like a camera like we're using now kind of thing, or microscope cameras? I mean, if you're just talking about cameras for streaming games or just webcasting like we're doing now, I am a big Logitech webcam fanboy. We use Logitech webcams. This is a C920 we're using at the moment, which is not the best webcam, but the C920 has been around for ages, and like I think the modern version is the C930. I think
the C930 is the business edition.
Yeah,
or something. It's basically the same thing. There's the C920, the C922, and the C930.
Yeah.
And they're all basically the same thing.
They're basically the same camera with slightly different marketing on them. But yeah, they SLR or less. If
you're going down the line of SLRs, the Sony cameras are cracking good cameras to look at for that. They have very good video apparently on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, however, obviously it's just a case of you're going to be looking at quite a lot of money to get a decent lens to go with it.
Yeah.
Which, whilst the stock lens will be okay, you'll want something that goes wider and is probably a shorter zoom range to get a much wider aperture on it, so you can throw your background out of focus more to get the more SLR effect.
And also, if you start going into a camera that's going to be doing a HDMI output, obviously you've got to do HDMI capture as well. And HDMI capture is a bit complicated at the moment, in my opinion, because well, an internal capture card doesn't give you that problem, but you've got to watch out because a lot of USB HDMI capture has a horrid amount of compression on it right now. Case in point, I bought myself a Live Gamer Mini, an AverMedia Live Gamer Mini for this rig, and I was horrified as to how much compression is on it.
Really, even on like a proper branded one.
Yeah, I didn't
that
think there
makes
would
me
be.
sad.
Yeah, it made me sad as well.
Is it proper USB 3?
No, it's USB 2. And I'm like, why didn't they make it USB 3 and not use compression? I don't know. And I'm kind of sad about it. Now, it's fine for general use in gaming, which is what it's intended for. However, if anyone watched the really good example about it, the EK AIO Elite video that I put out last week, I think it was now, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the EK AIO video, all of the video capture footage from the benchmarking, where I've got hardware monitor open and stuff like that, that was all captured via the Live Gamer Mini. And when you look at that, it's got a horrifying amount
That's
of
why it
compression
looked weird.
Yeah.
I thought you were just screen recording on the machine and had botched that.
Nope.
Okay.
It was just terrible. Now, in games, it won't look that bad because it's optimized for games.
Yeah,
but when
true.
you're capturing text and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I suppose if you're doing video, a lot of that should be buried. But either way, there's no point in spending a load of money on a really nice camera and then losing all of that detail in compression.
Yeah.
So you've got to consider using a proper PCI Express internal capture card that won't be compressed.
Also, I'd argue it also would need to support 4K 60.
Yeah.
You need an internal one that supports 4K 60, so you can then capture off of the camera in 4K 60 to then downscale internally.
Yeah.
Because downscaling internally will have much lower compression issues.
However,
much fewer compression issues.
Yeah.
They can, they're English.
Yep. But yeah, I don't know. But the thing is, though, is the kind of setup we're talking about also is not really value for money either, because the original question was value. Streaming on a budget, and as I say, none of these things are really budget things in my opinion. Budget is a Logitech C930 or C920.
I'd say also, if you want to as well, the other option is using something like Droid Cam or Irwin or something like that to use your
that
mobile
came
phone.
up in chat, using your mobile phone. Yeah. Droid Cam is £5 or $5 or something, and it's not too shabby.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a thing.
And it's like several of them will do, if your camera does it, will do 4K 30 output.
Yeah.
And they'll either do it over USB on some of them, or they'll do it over Wi-Fi.
And also, Firefly, you mentioned Elgato. Elgato will definitely do decent products as well. Elgato make good stuff. However, I think AverMedia will offer you exactly the same for less money. I don't dislike Elgato. However, I really like AverMedia because they tend to offer just as good a product for less money, in my experience. So yeah. But either or is fine. So yes. Let's see. There's some talk about the Windows build update 21H1. I haven't used it on anything yet. Is there anything actually new in 21H1 that anyone cares about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's the new icons.
A couple of new icons. We'd seen a lot of the new icons out anyway, because most of those come in via the App Store.
Yeah, there were new icons for a couple of things, I think.
Yeah. Other than that,
the new Explorer ones.
Yeah.
Plus, there was just a whole bunch of bug fixes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be, the ultra stable build type thing. Because it's supposed to be feature update, ultra stable build, feature update, ultra stable build kind of thing.
Yeah, because so far I haven't seen anything. I've installed it on a couple of customer PCs, but I haven't actually upgraded my own stuff yet.
I think it
But
possibly slightly shuffles the start menu.
yeah,
You know, for fresh installs, it will slightly shuffle what's on there, stuff like that.
so far I haven't seen or heard anything about it that makes me actually care, other than the fact of, sure, new version of Windows, update your flash drives, everyone.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
I'm not saying I'm not going to get it. I'm going to upgrade all of my stuff because it's the latest version of Windows. I'll always run the latest.
Yeah.
However, I don't think there's anything that I actually care about.
No, not specific. There's a change to the emoji picker. I remember.
Oh, I use the emoji picker all the time.
I think you can
so
search inside it now
you could do that
properly
anyway.
instead of it randomly not working.
Okay.
I remember someone commenting on that because I follow a couple of people on Twitter who are like managing the build updates and stuff, and they were saying about they've introduced a fix for the picker and things like that because it apparently wasn't searching properly in places and some other things. Changed the way it worked with the built-in spell check. So it's just a couple of fixing. It's
Quality
mostly
of
fixing
life.
bugs, quality of life stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, a couple of Mike White is also saying updates to Defender for administrators, group policy stuff. So yeah, mostly
cool.
back end stuff. It seems doesn't sound like there's anything that home users are really going to care about. But as with always, you know, as I mentioned, Noel, I've done it on a couple of customer PCs because when a new build of Windows comes out, I've got like two Windows 10 flash drives in the shop. And the first thing I do is update those to the new one because every computer that comes in for service gets updated to the latest build of Windows.
Yeah.
So obviously now that is 21H1. So I've done a couple, but as I say, so far I'm just like, it's the latest build. This is, you know, no difference to me than 20H2 or 2004 or 1909 or yeah.
I think for one of them there was a change to the audio processing thing, wasn't there, in the audio routing control panel? I can't remember. Was that 2004 that introduced the new audio routing?
Yes, which is actually
shockingly good.
Yes, which I'm actually going to show people what we're talking about here. I'll do it on the laptop because we've actually got HDMI capture to that. Because hang on a minute, I'm just going to switch over to a HDMI cap. Bam. So we're just capturing off my laptop. Yeah. So the old audio mixer was you right clicked on the volume button in the bottom right, and it said Open Volume Mixer, and you got this piece of garbage from the Stone Age. This audio mixer is garbage. It's terrible, and I hate it. And oh no. This has been around for ages, and it's terrible and awful, and it's awful and terrible, and it annoys me that it's still on the right click menu. This got replaced with, if you go to Open Sound Settings, you can now go to App Volume Device Preferences, and you've now got the new mixer here. And this mixer is actually good because you can specify outputs and inputs on a per app basis, and you can specify the volume on a per app basis without ruining the master volume. Because look what happens if I change the volume here. If I just unmute this, where's that coming from? There's audio. Stream. Oh, the stream. Hold up. There's an echo. Let me just fix this echo. Where is... Oh, I don't know where it is. This isn't going to work. Basically, if I change one of these sliders, it changes the master volume, and then you get all of them out of phase, and they're all out of alignment, and it's horrid. The new one doesn't do that. That's what I wanted to talk about. For most people, they're going to be like, why do I care about this? However, streamers will care about this. Streamers who actually use the audio mixer all the time, this is everything. There's no other way of putting this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's why I suddenly went ham for that. I'm like, no, the new audio mixer, though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The new audio mixer is particularly good. So I was looking at the setup guide videos for the TC Helicon Go XLR. And as part of the setup videos, one of the more recent ones they've done, they've specifically said to use that mixer to force stuff that doesn't have the option inside the app to use specific channels. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's clever.
Yeah. And of course, the other great thing about this is once again, they have replaced one of the legacy control panel items and put that functionality into settings, which is really good because, Windows 10 really doesn't want you to use the legacy control panel, yet there's still so many things that are not in the settings app that require you to use a legacy control panel. And just Windows 10 is stuck between this case of, we don't want you to use the legacy control panel.
Yeah.
However, there are many, many things that you can't do in settings. And so, again, this is, once again, just more progress toward Windows 10. Well, this might be a bit of a hot take, but Windows 10 actually being finished.
Or at least certainly a case of finishing migrating to where it was trying to be.
Where it wants to be. Yeah, because Windows 10 wants to have everything in settings and not use any of the legacy control panels.
Yeah.
But there's still so many stuff that's just in legacy control panels.
Yeah.
And I can understand some of it. Like there are certain things, like for example, the legacy user accounts one, like controlled user passwords too. There are certain things where it's a case of, this is fine being in a legacy control panel.
Yeah.
This isn't something that the average person needs access to. This is an advanced feature. But there's still so many things on legacy control panels, like the audio mixer, like the audio input settings. If you want to adjust your microphone properties, that's no, you
half
can do
and
that in
half. It's
settings.
half and half.
Yeah.
But if you want to change the number of channels it is, so like for this microphone, if you want to change this from mono to stereo, you have to go into the legacy options.
Yeah.
If you want to enable listening to the device to check that it's
legacy.
working, you have to go into legacy.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's lots of little bits like that.
Yeah.
If you want to see actual decibel readouts for devices, you have to go into legacy. And just little bits like that. So it's just a shame. I'd like it if they took the Windows administration stuff and put that in the legacy look. So it was all in the in the kind of old style, and all of the general user stuff would be on the settings thing. So kind of you could go to users, knock yourself out in settings. You're never going to actually break something. You're never going to actually erase all of your data.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And have all of the dangerous options in the admin panel type thing. And just kind of have that separation.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't look new and fancy and swish, average user possibly shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And use that as a visual differentiator.
I feel like at least with settings, there's a problem with the development team where there's no real direction. Just the development team are just building a product. There's a development team but no design team there.
Yeah.
And that is kind of also reflected by virtue of the fact that from a design perspective, the settings app is a fucking mess.
Yeah. What's it look like right now?
The homepage is not awful.
But
You've
what's
got
this?
categories.
It keeps alerting you that there's a problem and you need to change stuff because you're not using Edge. Stop that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That you need to sign in and get rewards. Why is this something that's of critical importance to tell me about as a notification? I don't need Microsoft rewards as a critical notification in my settings app.
See,
I need a critical notification that my software firewall has broken.
Yeah. There's lots of people that love dunking on Windows 10 and go, "Oh, Microsoft have broken Windows again," and stuff like that. And I'm like, don't be that guy. And like, don't be that guy who's just like, "Well, I'm not updating to the latest version of Windows," kind of thing. Don't be that guy. However, by the same token, there are lots of choices that Microsoft have made that make me go, "This is why everyone hates you, Microsoft. Why are you making my job so hard?" There are times where I'm just like, to my audience, don't be that guy. But there's also times where Microsoft will do something and you're like, you do this to yourself, Microsoft.
Yeah, you did this yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame because I really quite like the Edgium. Chrome Edge. Chrome.
Yeah.
Edgium.
Yeah. Edge is not terrible. Edge is a decent browser.
Yeah.
But Microsoft make you hate it by forcing it on you so hard.
I also dislike, to a degree, that it's based on Chrome now.
What? Because of a lack of choice?
Because now the only rendering options I've got are Firefox and Chrome.
Yeah.
That's it. Which now means I only have Chrome.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's just like,
Especially because the pre-Chrome version of the Edge, what was the Internet Explorer rendering engine? Trident, that's the one. Yeah.
was bad.
Yeah. Edge, the first version of Edge wasn't Trident, was it?
No, they rebuilt. They built an
built a new-
entirely brand new.
Yeah. Yeah, they built a new engine for the early versions of Edge,
Yeah.
which, to my knowledge, wasn't bad, was it?
It was really
It was fine.
good.
Yeah, so why did they
It was
drop it?
specifically really good to me because it wasn't Edge.
Yeah.
Sorry, because it wasn't Chrome.
Because it wasn't Chrome.
Because it was Edge. Because it was Microsoft's one. And yeah, and it's kind of a case where I'm just like, I want more rendering engines. I want actual browser choice and stuff. Not specifically because I care, but because I want to
It's
be
good.
able to care.
Yeah, it's better
Having-
for the ecosystem. that
Having
there
a
is more
two-horse
choice.
race is always a bad race.
Yeah, agreed.
Because what stops collusion?
Yeah,
If you have two companies and they're the only two companies,
Yeah.
it's just kind of
yeah.
yeah.
Opera. I'd love it. Yeah, it would be nice.
Opera is literally just a broken version of Chromium, though.
Yeah. At one point, Opera would have been a valid option. However, A, they're now Chromium based, aren't they?
I'm pretty certain.
Yeah. And B, Opera as a company is morally bankrupt anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah. Opera is no bueno these days.
Yeah.
Just because as I say, the company that owns them or the guy who owns it is morally bankrupt.
Yeah.
And not just in a capitalistic kind of way, just in just dodgy loans to people and stuff like that. It's just like, ooh boy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely.
Woo. Yeah.
Absolutely. Plus also all of the Chinese state involvement, which is neither particularly here nor there, but it's just
Yeah.
the case of it's like the fact that it's official publicly there.
Yeah.
And it's just like Vivaldi is Chrome, Brave is Chrome.
Yeah. Whenever something is sort of Chinese government involved or Tencent involved or stuff like that, the reason why the reason why I always consider that to be a problem is not because I'm worried about snooping and stuff like that, because it's just like, look, if the Chinese government isn't snooping on you, then a Western government is snooping on you. It's going to be one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's
They
going to be
all
one.
are.
Yeah, it's going to be one, the other, or both. But the difference is the difference is that Western governments aren't abducting you off the street for talking shit about them, whereas the Chinese government will abduct you off the street for talking shit about them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Broadly speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of why I always consider that to be an issue. But
Also, just the fact of, to a degree, the difference in culture. Just obviously a case of it's slightly less concerning when it's a European nation as a European, because you are of a similar culture and just stuff like that. So
yeah, that's understandable.
so it's a case of there is a degree of cultural
yes.
acceptance to it and things like that, and
Yeah.
it's an entirely different thing.
I don't mind my own government spying on me. I just don't want a foreign government to spy on me. And it's,
I can at least vote against my current. I can at least vote against my government.
yes.
Kind of thing. I can at least protest my government,
Yeah.
which everyone should be doing.
Yes.
As an aside,
Yes.
everyone really should be. Even if they're doing the things you like, you probably should be.
Yep. Bring back the BBS. We talk about bulletin board systems or something else there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume it's bulletin boards because absolutely that's what we're going with. Bring back bulletin boards.
Yep.
Remove the plebs from the internet. If you don't know how to get onto a bulletin board, I don't need to talk to you.
I like forums. I mean, well, I say I like forums. I don't really, because I don't use them anymore and I don't really want to. But on the flip side, I miss the era of forums.
Yes.
I miss the era where forums were king, because I was a massive user of forums.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Bring back IRC. Stop text chat programs needing quad cores and 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah. VPNs are 90% secure. Depends on which one. But yeah.
Also depends on what you mean by secure, depends on what you're using it for, depends on why you're using it and what your risk model is.
Yeah.
However, Basically, if you think your VPN is protecting you and making you anonymous or secure, it isn't. Is a gross oversimplification.
However, immediately Teltac is just like Teltac's spider senses are going off the chart here. Yeah. Luckily, I have a bigger chart, so you know. So that's a Sonic Boom joke, yeah. That's possibly one of the best Sonic Boom jokes ever. There's a scene where Tails is analyzing a meteorite that crashed, and he goes, "Wow, these readings are off the chart. Luckily, I have a bigger chart," and pulls out a literal bigger chart. So yeah,
That's beautiful. I love it.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Anyway,
That's amazing.
yeah. Sorry. Anyway,
That is. Yes.
speaking of IRC, did you see the Freenode debacle, Caradog? I don't know. Did you?
No.
Oh, the Freenode. Oh yeah, I heard about the Freenode debacle.
What's this?
Yeah. So you know Freenode, who host a lot of IRC servers, a lot of IRC,
yeah.
long-running IRC servers. They're all
Yeah.
hosted through the Freenode network.
Yeah.
The person who it wasn't even the person who owned it, but the one of the Freenode administrators just straight up sold it to a third party without informing any of the voluntary staff base. And so Freenode is Freenode actually compromised as a result of this, or was it? Oh, okay, yeah. Explain it to us, Teltac. I did see it, but I can't remember. Freenode has changed hands, and it happened in a really sketchy way. So yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I don't actually use IRC.
Yeah.
However, yes.
I'm going to start Google searching the correct answer just to see if I can get to it before. A random third party brought some Freenode name. Ah.
Oh no, was it effectively like typo squatting? Because someone hard coded an address or something, but then didn't check they owned the address.
Right, okay, so I'm reading from the register here. Yada yada yada. Oh, these are talking about the fact that everyone walked out, not what actually happened. Here we go. Crystal Foreign surname, the former head of Freenode staff who transferred her interest in Freenode Limited to resigned in March. Yeah.
Basically, Freenode should be considered as a hostile system.
Yeah. It's happened in it happened in a really backroom deal kind of way where stuff got sold or purchased. However, yes, suffice to say, Freenode is now rogue effectively.
Was IRC ever secure in the sense of Freenode being able to read your messages? I presume not, because as far as I'm aware, IRC wasn't as a protocol.
Yeah.
GitHub is basically full story. Okay.
Yeah. Update 2, update 1. Okay, so what's going on? Right. Right. Andrew Lee is indirectly the owner of a company named Freenode Limited. Despite what the name implies, the company actually has nothing to do with the operation of the Freenode IRC network. It's an established handle. Okay, this is... Yeah, I need a TLDR of this, to be honest.
The company also gained control over Freenode domains. The company has absolutely no operational involvement, does not own any servers.
Oh, okay.
Does not employ the staff, does not sponsor any infrastructure. All the staff are unpaid volunteers. And all the servers are sponsored by third parties on a rolling basis. No contracts exist between either Freenode Limited and the staff, or between Freenode Limited and the sponsors.
So Andrew Lee... indirectly owns a company called Freenode Limited, which has essentially leveraged that and assumed control of the Freenode network.
I see. And it seems that Andrew Lee, despite zero involvement in the day-to-day operations of Freenode, has decided that ownership of the domains entities owned to him entitles him to ownership of Freenode as a network and community,
Yeah.
and intended to give his own people administrative access to the network without involving the staff team
Yeah.
in this decision.
So it effectively was a hostile takeover.
Yeah.
With assumption of names and stuff like that. So yeah.
The details are vague, but it's safe to say that the staff disagreed, and the
Of course. Yeah.
staff team collectively drafted resignation letters to be published in the event that Andrew would misuse his domain ownership to do a hostile takeover of the network.
Which they have now made good on.
Yeah. Crucially, stepping down and moving to another network.
Does it say where they moved to?
No.
Okay. Does anyone know where they will move to? Because this is the thing. If you're not really up on the IRC scene, then none of this is really important. So for all 12 of you out there who actually care about IRC, where have they moved to? Would be my next question.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and basically, what does this mean for my channel or community on Freenode? Freenode staff have stepped down. The network that runs at freenode.org/net/com should be assumed to be under control of a malicious third party.
Yeah.
I, the person who's writing this GitHub post, says, I recommend moving your community to libra.chat as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's what Teltac just said. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And the guy's already actively abusing admin permissions. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like, it's what I don't know how many people. Well, I mean, obviously IRC is a niche use these days. However, like I'm not into IRC myself these days. However, I recognise the fact that Freenode has been around for a very long time. This is real old school stuff we're talking here that's just still running today. And seeing Freenode just suddenly become a hostile network is like, whoa, that's kind of a big deal, you know. That's a big player who's just suddenly, you know, yeah. IR still heavily used within OSS. Yeah, that's true. A lot of open source software. Yeah.
Absolutely.
If they're not using it to communicate, it's used as a back end for stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, it's like 2 of the websites I use infrequently specifically have IRC set up on completely different domains, on completely different servers, in completely opposite ends of the globe. So when their website dies, you can IRC.
Yeah.
And the IRC just auto takes over the main domain.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's a super niche environment, but it's a case of there are fallbacks using it.
Because it's an open source service that's being used, there's a lot of stuff that uses it on good faith, and all of that stuff is now effectively compromised. And it makes you wonder how much abandonware there is out there that is no longer being actively maintained but still works, that is now completely compromised as a result of this. Which is possibly an interesting thing. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder how long it'll be before, or if it will happen before firewalls, virus protection software and stuff like that actually, will any of them actually flag, like, for example, uBlock Origin, will that flag Freenode as now a potentially malicious domain? And if any software tries to connect to a Freenode address, will it say Freenode is compromised?
I could see something like uBlock, Ghostery, Privacy Badger, those things doing that.
The mainstream software wouldn't, but
stuff actually running on your PC as a firewall or something, no, I don't think that would specifically, unless it was specifically designed by hackers.
Yeah.
Those people. So, yeah, maybe not. I don't know, but it's an interesting idea. But yeah, intriguing. I hadn't seen that, but yeah, I hadn't seen anything about that. Just 'cause I haven't used IRC for several years. Most of the stuff I used IRC for moved to Discord.
Yeah, same. I was briefly. I was never a massive IRC user. Then about well, God, it must have been 7 years ago now. About 7 years ago, although, I had a resurgence in my use of IRC because I joined a bunch of communities, a couple of which used IRC. And so I used IRC for a bit. Hence, and that was largely where I saw a lot of Freenode still in use, because at least a couple of those were on Freenode. If it wasn't on Freenode, it was on Quake.net or something like that, you know. However, when Discord came along in 2014, basically the vast majority of those people all migrated to Discord, which I personally still see as a good thing, just because Discord offers a much richer user experience. However, I understand the value of my free IRC, etc., etc.
Also, just the fact of how very basic it was. The fact that it didn't require silly amounts of RAM and processing power and stuff like that.
Yep, there's value in
It
that.
didn't support image embedding and stuff like that. So it's a case of whilst
Yeah.
it makes it less user friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a case that it also means that its footprint on your system is effectively invisible.
Yeah.
Having a picture open probably is more intensive on your resources, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked that just as a thing, because it didn't get in the way. Because you could have it there, it be effectively invisible to the operation of the computer, and then you could swap into it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, whereas Discord isn't.
Yeah.
It nearly is,
Yeah.
but only because I have computers with like 32 gigs of RAM and 2700 X's as their worst processor.
Yeah.
So it's like
I've got 32 gigs of RAM in my home PC now, because it means that I can abuse memory, and I'm not having to think of sort of like how many Electron apps are running in the background at the moment, because
yeah, pretty much.
Electron. So yeah.
Alexa. Wait, wrong company.
Yeah. Fair enough.
As Chris Kingan says, go back to carrier pigeons.
Yes, true.
Although I feel like tangent, but like Harry Potter, the Harry Potter universe, the fact that an owl can find a person anywhere,
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of makes it really, really hard for a witness protection scheme.
Yeah, that I wonder if that's a problem they have in the Harry Potter universe. That's an interesting point. But then they probably have a spell that can conceal them from an owl. We can probably solve it. We can probably solve the magic.
You're now very confused.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh well. I tell you what I would like.
Attack hand grenade owls.
Yeah. What's
Does that
up,
make
Trev?
them
How's it going?
torpedoes or missiles?
On a more practical sense, what I would contend is I would like a science fiction universe where, rather than running software on computers for communication, we have communicators like a phone, but it's effectively a hardware communication device. So you've got like Discord, but it's effectively just, I mean, I guess I'm talking about a smartphone, but essentially we're just doing everything from the phone, rather than running software on a computer. No,
I don't understand what you're explaining, because it sounds like you're describing a computer.
Yeah. I guess the problem is what I want is something basic and visceral like SMS, but with the functionality of a modern chat system.
So not SMS.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand what problem you're trying to fix, or what plot point it creates, or what hook it generates.
I guess I don't know. I guess in a way I'm kind of segueing into there was an interesting question of I saw an interesting question that came up on Twitter, in the Twitter electronics engineering circles, where someone asked the question of, is it possible to have electronics without firmware these days? And I thought that was a very interesting question, because these days you build any kind of electronic product and it probably requires firmware in it at some point, and it's like, whereas is there still any kind of value in
I guess my question is, what's the value in not using something that has firmware in it?
I guess we're kind of going to the extreme opposite of Internet of Things here. You know, if Internet of Things is an extreme that we don't want to go to, because why does my toothbrush require a firmware update over Wi-Fi?
So we're going to the extranet of people?
The extreme opposite of that is how complicated a product can you make based entirely on effectively analog electronics kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're not asking the question I thought you were asking.
Okay, yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
I thought you were asking the question of can I get rid of firmware but still have software? But I was like,
Yeah.
but firmware is software.
Yes.
So, no. But I see, indeed.
Yes. I don't know what the value of this conversation is, and I think
I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
I haven't, and I want to talk about something else now. So, yeah.
So carrier pigeons,
yeah.
ghost dogs.
It
sounds like the start of a Tom Clancy book. The carrier pigeons have gone rogue. They've become a unit called Ghost Dog.
Let's see. Paraka says, having a Realtek Wi-Fi driver issue since the Windows update. Turns on and off. Have to network reset it to get it working again. I mean, have you tried updating the driver? Or failing that, have you tried dropping to an older driver as well? Sometimes the latest driver is not always the best. So, yeah. Past that, is this on a laptop or a desktop computer? If it's on a laptop, sometimes the best solution is just to try a different Wi-Fi card. Laptop Wi-Fi cards are really cheap. And you can just... I've got a box of them that I pull out of dead laptops. And when I'm encountering just really messy issues with a laptop's Wi-Fi, I just pull the card out and put a different one in. And that normally solves the issue. Which I know is a bit of a non-answer, but if it works, is it really? It's not stupid if it works, you know.
Oh, what, like the Wi-Fi adapter that's actually a USB Wi-Fi adapter of a USB to PCI
that
adapter,
is stupid.
Which then has PCI to.
That is stupid. That Ralink can die in a fire for inventing that. And if anyone is not sure if Caradog is joking or not, Ralink, R-A-Link, don't know how you pronounce it. They do legitimately make mini PCI card Wi-Fi adapters for laptops that have USB Wi-Fi chipsets. It's a USB Wi-Fi chipset into a PCI bridge, into a mini PCI card, into the laptop. And
it's fine. It's okay. We can add an extra stage. We can have PCI Express to PCMCIA, and then PCMCIA back to PCI Express. Then from PCI Express to FireWire for that DMA.
Gross.
So I can have DMA Wi-Fi.
21H1 new .NET framework updates killed 2 Wi-Fi network adapters. Oh, fair enough.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Are they RA-Link ones?
No, I'm guessing they're Realtek because that's what Paraka's got. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that question, I'm afraid.
Interesting.
But yes, I shall keep an eye on it. That is interesting to know. I will keep an eye out for it.
Yes, I need to connect my Wi-Fi via SATA.
Yeah. Install the .NET frame. Okay, yeah. So if you just uninstall the .NET update, that fixes it, apparently. That's good to know. That's something that I may well encounter over the next month. Because as I say, if I'm updating everyone's laptops to 21H1, inevitably at some point I'm probably going to hit that issue myself.
Eventually you'll end up breaking someone's Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Someone's computer will come in for a really basic thing and I'll be like, well, I'm in for service, let's do the 21H1 update, and it'll break and I'll spend more time fixing a problem of my own creation than the original fault that the laptop came in for repair for.
Do you remember that being quite common because XP? Just the Wi-Fi just randomly going, nah.
I think I've obliterated that from my memory, or I've got PTSD over it and just don't remember, one of the two. There's a lot of things about XP that I've forgotten, and I'm not even sad about it. Like I have no nostalgia for that. It's
the
kind of
only thing I have
to
minor nostalgia for is the XP Media Center Edition theme.
As in when you first ran it, or on the first run wizard?
No, the theme, like to the taskbar and stuff.
Oh yeah, the visual thing.
The XP Royal theme, as it became known when it got hacked across.
Yes, the Royal thing. Yeah, the Royal thing was good. It was a nice update.
Yeah.
It was a shame that the Royal Noir version was never quite finished, because there was a Royal Noir version that was.
I never thought it looked very good.
It's
It
because
looked...
it wasn't quite finished, so it had some clippy edges around it here and there.
No,
And things
to
like
me,
that.
it just looked like someone went, "Oh yes, piano black is sexy. Let's do piano black."
Well, it was back then.
But it never was. Piano black was never good. It was never swish. It always scratched too easily and always attracted too many fingerprints.
Yeah. Anyway, another thing from XP that
Oh
I'm
no!
nostalgic
Oh
for.
no! Fingerprints on your virtual desktop because we need to go full skeuomorphic.
Oh no! Oh,
Apple will do it.
I was gonna say, Naughty's Apple is calling. Yeah. Skeuomorphic design. Now, there's something that we don't need back again. I need to bring up a theme, and I need to see if this invokes an emotional reaction in anyone in the audience.
Don't need to do it on here then.
If we do it on there, we won't hear it either. Actually, do it on. We'll bring it up on both. Hold up a sec. I need a YouTube window. The Windows XP First Run theme. Where Windows XP First Run theme. Theme song, installation music. Here we go. Right. I need this. I need you to hear this as well. Get a YouTube window up. I need you to hear this, and I need to see your reaction when you hear it. I don't know if you'll recognize it or not. Bear with us, everyone. I'm going somewhere with this. Yeah, just XP First Run theme. And yeah, that's the one. Right, okay. So I'm going to play it back here as well. And hopefully it won't be horribly audible. I need to change the output so it's coming out the speakers.
Do you know the problem? I just heard it.
Oh, did you just hear it in your head? Okay. Well, heckin', change the output. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going somewhere with
Which
this.
one? Just to the speakers of this.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
To the speakers. Ah.
Yes, that's right. And mute the stream. Yeah. I've got audio coming out from this computer, and I don't know where it's coming from. Is this actually playing at the moment? Yes, it is. That's why I'm getting audio from it. All right.
We are professionals.
This bit is taking way too long. And I apologize. Right. Okay, here we go. I'm playing it. I'm playing the music. I can't hear it because Caradog has closed the window. Get it playing, man. I need to hear it. Who in the audience recognizes this? Yeah. Does anyone recognize this? Because this is what I'm nostalgic for from the XP era. How does that make you feel? Did you think this was really cool back in the day?
It feels very Matrix, doesn't it?
I wouldn't say Matrix. I would just sort of, yeah. I just consider, but like the first time I heard this, I was like, that is super cool. This sounds that is just like, yeah. Silence Engage gets it. Silence Engaged is red. He is on board. Yeah. Yeah, we've got some reactions now. There's a couple of people. So yeah, I'm gonna pause that now.
Jennifer Aniston and
oh no, you stop that.
They'll be taking you on an
You stop that.
That takes place in the office
Also,
of Microsoft
actually stop it because I don't know if that's copyrighted. I don't know if that is copyrighted, but either way, I've done my bit. It wasn't worth the wait. Well, I think it was for Nate Ryan 76 with the £5 super chat with the Windows XP thing. Thank you very much. But yeah, Telltale is like, this is every management video everywhere. But yeah.
Oh no, it really is. Oh no.
Oh god, Joe Twist, Phil Collins. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I thought you were going to say Phil Collins wrote that.
No. Well, if he did. But it sounds like he did, as my mum is a massive Phil Collins fan. So yes, yeah, I know exactly that mood. Maybe that's why I like it so much, because it's got that feel to it, and that's kind of music I grew up with as well.
Phil Collins is great. Anyway. Yeah.
All right, there we go. That's my bit.
I still love it that he did the music for the George of the Jungle film.
He did, which I've never seen.
He also sung it in like 4 other languages.
Huh. That's pretty rad. Totally respectable.
Like, what?
Yeah. Today I learned.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, weird, mad, oddness. Did you know that you can still have a startup sound on Windows 10.
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still an option.
Yeah.
I have enabled it.
On my laptop.
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say, please don't. Yeah.
It is basically the same as like the Windows 7 one.
Fair enough. Yeah. There was, I forget the name of it now. The Windows 7 sounds that I always liked was, I think it was the business style ones, because they had weird trumpet noises that were just the...
Bonk.
Yeah, and like the error one was like... Which to me was just the funniest noise ever. Every time an error came up, I was just like... I loved it. Oh well. Right. Let's see. What's going on in chat? The Windows XP first run theme tune that you couldn't hear because your sound card drivers weren't installed. Exactly that. The first time I heard it was when I was installing a whole bunch of Dell computers in an office. And because they were OEM, obviously all the drivers were preloaded. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that on the first run screen. And I was like, what the heck? I've never heard this before. What is this? And it was the first time I heard it. I was just like, where's that music coming from? I dig it, And yeah, it was cool.
I dig it, except for the fact that there are 30 copies of this, all half a second out of sync with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I'll give you that one. But yes. Let's see. Michael Casper says you plan on or considering merch. It's at some point I need to get designs. I need to speak to a graphic designer and get design ideas because I would like to do some merch. People are looking to get merch, and I've had lots of people who said we'd like to supply your merch. However, what I don't have is designs. And
so if you're a graphic designer, send an email too.
Sure, yeah. Email me if you're a graphic designer, and I don't mean someone who just knows how to use Photoshop. I mean someone who actually knows how to design logos and stuff like that.
Who knows how to deal with a client who says, "I need this circle to be more square."
Yeah. Because that's the thing is I need someone to actually invent logos, and that is surprisingly difficult to get hold of. Like I know how to use Photoshop and I know how to use things. However, what I can't do is create a concept for a logo. So yeah, no meme merch. I'm not interested.
No. There will be meme merch. However, to get access to it, you have to spend money to buy the access to the links to buy the merch. It's the OnlyFans model.
Anyway. But yes. Kind of strange that the .NET update wasn't baked into 21H1.
Because .NET isn't baked into Windows at all.
I was about to say, because .NET is not part of Windows. So yeah, it's separate things. Kind of like in the same way that you won't find... I actually complained to Caradog yesterday that in the new 21H1 update, it did not come with the latest version of the Windows App Store apps that are preloaded on Windows, like the Photos app, the Store app itself, and so on and so forth. However, the same goes for there. It's just a case of, well, those are not part of Windows. They are App Store downloads. So no, they wouldn't be included.
Yeah, because I guess the build update isn't an image, is it? It isn't an updated image. It is a build update of Windows.
Yeah, it's the Windows
to
core.
which you attach stuff to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because I was thinking
Windows
about it
is
from
modular.
I was thinking about it from the Android point of view.
Yeah.
Because obviously on Android, when you get an update to a device, you are updating that device. It is a build for that device. So the apps that are preloaded are the latest versions.
Yes.
Because it's a build built for that device.
Indeed.
Kind of thing. So, yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's the thing. It's a case of like it would be nice if you downloaded, because what this annoys me with is that if I do a clean install of 21H1, I immediately need to open the App Store and hit Get Update, so it actually updates all of the apps that I've just installed on this fresh copy of Windows. And it's like, why is it that the build of Windows that came out yesterday doesn't have the latest version of the apps that came out weeks ago? But it's a case of, well, those aren't part of Windows,
It's fine. Just remove all modern apps via PowerShell. It's fine. People don't need a functioning start menu.
Something just debloat Windows. Yeah.
Debloatwindows.com.
I do actually need. Oh, yeah, we've spoken about this before on the show, but I do actually need to look into debloating and do some experiments to find out what debloating is actually worthwhile. Because I'm sure there's going to be a load of people out there that's like, oh, use this software, it's really good. And I bet I will run that software and it will make no perceivable or measurable difference to the system performance.
Yeah.
Except axe a load of functionality from the computer.
Yeah. Given that my point with that every time is the fact of I run Windows 10 VMs with a single core, 256 megs of RAM, and they run absolutely fine. And they don't
just
have problems.
vanilla?
Yeah. Just Windows 10 Pro, 32-bit, because the 64-bit version requires more RAM, slightly more RAM. But like the 32-bit version, and it's just like it runs on silly low amounts of RAM.
Yeah.
The problem becomes when you try and like browse websites because you run out of RAM. But like the core OS, the software opens.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
So it's like it depends on what you're calling low usage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You have to define parameters and terms.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is just like a lot of things that it's kind of like removing all modern apps with PowerShell. The reason why those apps appear to consume a lot of system resources is that they silently update in the background. And so when you're looking at going sort of, oh, look at all the resources that these apps are using, it's like, well, because they're out of date. If you update your apps, then they won't be doing stuff in the background anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the time, it's a matter of just the computer hasn't updated.
Yeah.
And it's debate. You could say sort of, well, I don't want those apps to update because I don't use them. It's like, sure, okay,
Then
remove them.
them.
Yeah. However, yeah, it's
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that with that is saying about is the new video codecs and picture formats and stuff like that. It would just be nice if things were baked in for that, now that there is a baked in video player that actually works far better than Windows Media Player.
Yeah.
There is a built-in picture viewer. It'd be nice if it supported more of a slightly more exotic and certainly the newer formats.
I would wager that the answer to that is to do with either A, licensing, because providing as a separate thing is not the same as having it included in Windows.
Yeah.
And also B, anti-competition thing, because remember what happened the last time Microsoft tried to include everything in Windows. They got sued into the Stone Age for anti-competitive
But given
practice.
that like HEIC, as far as I'm aware, is open software, it should be in there. I would contend that it should be in there because it is free.
Although again,
in most cases, the reason you have to buy codecs is because they're paid for codecs.
Yeah.
The software itself is paid to access.
Even the free ones, though, I would wager that if Microsoft actually includes all the things that are logical to include, they then get sued tomorrow by, VLC et al. For saying, oh, now people have no reason to download our product and we're now going out of business. So I'm not saying that's definitely it, and I'm not weighing in on whether I think that's justified or not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's probably what it's to do with.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're, to a degree, I dislike that Microsoft got sued for the anti-competition stuff because I feel it has ultimately actually hurt the consumer.
Yeah, it's hurt Windows. I mean, Microsoft aren't allowed to make the product that they want or could make. Of course, Apple get away with it hand over fist.
Yeah.
But
that part annoys me as well.
Yeah, there's lots of parts of Microsoft that people constantly complain about missing features and stuff that you have to download separately.
Yeah.
And they're like, they don't do it willingly. They do it because they get sued into the Stone Age if they actually try to include it.
Yeah. Well, look at the crap that came out about the browser choice.
Yeah,
thing.
Exactly. Everyone complained about that, and it's just like, they didn't do that willingly.
Yeah, they were literally forced to by governments.
Yeah. So, and it's debatable as to how justified that is, and I don't know. It's
given that at the time Chrome had an 80% market share.
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah, Chrome had an 80% market share. Yet Microsoft was forced to force users to tell them whether they wanted to use a different browser, kind of thing. And it was just like,
Yeah.
But they're not even in a majority position. They don't even have a monopoly.
Yeah.
So why are you suing them for having a monopoly
Yeah.
when
This
their
is-
browser has a market share of like 2%?
It's very frustrating when legislation ends up coming up with a completely useless
If anything, they should be
thing.
suing Chrome for Chrome being a free download or something. What?
Yeah. You know, it's the same. Yeah, it's very frustrating when legislation or regulation comes in that that probably started out from a good thought. You know, we want more choice. We want people to be more informed that they have a choice. But just ended up being executed in such a ham-fisted way that we ended up with a mess, a la the European Cookies Directive malarkey, where, you know, the way that panned out is like a case of, oh man, you had the right idea and your heart was in the right place, but now we just have something that's just a heckin' pain in the ass.
I've not read the law, so I can't comment, but I feel like someone somewhere misconstrued it and then that got taken as gospel.
Yeah,
That is
probably what
how
happened.
I feel. I have no evidence of that,
Yeah,
and I've not read the legislation, but I feel like that's what it is.
yeah,
Or it proves that a lot of modern web design is just atrocious and actually probably terrible.
I think it's probably a mixture of everything.
You know, and it's
you
kind
know,
of the case of actually, well, it's like, I can't remember what it was, but we were having a new website built for our company, and they said, oh, you have to have a cookie warning. And I said, why are you using cookies?
Yeah,
There is no login.
yeah,
There is none of that on our website. So why are you
it's a
using
static
cookies?
content. Yeah,
Why are you using cookies in the first place?
yeah,
And they said, oh, you have to have a cookie warning. Why are you using cookies?
Yeah.
They refused to answer the question.
yeah.
And then it turned around and it was a case of, oh, because we're using WordPress.
Okay, yeah,
And because WordPress puts cookies that aren't created by me
yeah,
from my website on people's computers. And I'm like,
Yep.
why is WordPress putting cookies on my visitor's
Yeah.
computer?
Well, you see, you've got to save the preference file for the 5 megabyte JavaScript library that you load up for a static web page.
Yeah, and it was
You
stuff
know.
like that. And I was just like,
A 5 megabyte JavaScript library that gets downloaded on every single page load, I'd imagine.
yeah,
You know?
and just stuff like that. And I was like, I don't get the point. I don't understand. I was like, no. Why wouldn't you just have a static page of text with a picture on it?
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking you for.
Yep. Like, my website is not the best. I'll be the first to admit that. However, my website is static HTML and CSS.
Yeah.
That's it.
It could
because
do
that's
with-
all it needs to be.
It could do with some slightly better colours, but
Yeah,
other than that,
it needs brushing up from a design perspective, but functionality-wise, I used to run a PHP website. However, every time I update my website, I cut more and more functionality out of it to the point where I was just like, there's no reason for this to be .php anymore. I literally may as well just do like 3 HTML pages and a CSS script that's embedded, you know.
I don't get so much of modern web dev for like really basic static websites.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. Let's see.
Sorry, Teltac, you're asking Graham to remind you.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, also, Teltac, quick question: Have you sorted out Let's Encrypt on the new hosting setup? Because obviously, I had where I was running EC2, I had a scheduled Let's Encrypt update to keep the SSL certification renewed. Does the new one do that as well? Because otherwise, my SSL will go out of date. So yeah. Then also, Michael Casper says, I'm having trouble with your PC not recognizing my TS100 when I connect it to the USB. Detects the connection, but not the PC. I'm not sure. I updated my TS100. It shouldn't matter if it's USB 3 or 2 because the TS100 itself only has USB 2 connections in it. So you don't ever think about it. Does that mean I don't need to think about it? Oh, right. Only AWS managed to put. Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm no longer using Let's Encrypt. Fair enough. Understood. Yeah. So, yeah, the TS100 only has a USB 2 connector at the back of it anyway, so that shouldn't matter.
However, the USB 2 controller and USB 3 controller will be different controllers.
That's true. Yeah, you could try connecting it to different ports anyway. Try a different USB cable. make sure that you're not using a USB charge-only cable as well. Just in case you're getting trolled by a charge-only USB cable.
Yeah.
They shouldn't exist, but they do.
There are certain circumstances where I can understand why you'd have one.
Okay.
For plugging into foreign ports.
Yeah.
When you're in a situation where plugging into foreign ports and downloading malware onto your phone is an actual part of your risk profile.
Yeah, okay.
However,
yeah,
they're
fair
things
point.
that you should probably be building yourself.
Yeah, that's
kind
true.
of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, that, because it was a thing in the early days of USB 3 for the Android modding community, because certain bootloaders would only communicate with USB 2 controllers.
Yes, and I'll give you that, because also certainly in the earlier days of USB 3 there was an issue of computers not being able to boot from USB 3 ports, but from USB blah blah blah. Yes, fair enough.
So, so there's possibly a thing with that.
Yeah.
However,
Very well. Right. Past that, we're at 2 hours.
indeed.
It is coming up to 6 o'clock, and yeah, I think we're done today, aren't we?
Basically,
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, let's wrap up then, I think. Thank you everyone for joining in today. Oh, one last. Graham, front port audio jack does not work on desktop PC. Check drives all okay. Windows does not recognize earphones plugged into ASUS Z72 motherboard. Are you sure it's wired in correctly? Don't forget that the front audio jacks you need to make sure you need to check whether you've got Intel HD front audio or AC97. You need to check whether the actual front headers you're plugging in are AC97 or HD audio. If they're AC97, they need to have the little loopback wires on them. If they're Intel HD audio, they won't need them. But if you're Intel HD audio plugging into an AC97 header, you will need them. Front audio is more complicated than people think on older stuff. So yeah. It's difficult to do this without actually looking at it and getting into the weeds on it. However, front audio might be more complicated than you think. Double check the wiring. Also, potentially try stealing the front audio ports from another case and plugging them into the motherboard and see if those work. So yeah, I would try the front panel from another case. Rob it from a scrap case, plug it in, see if that does the work. Let's see.
Beyond that.
Yeah, beyond that, we're finishing up. My views on the new low hash rate NVIDIA cards, haven't looked into them. It's going to get cracked.
Probably.
There's too much money involved for it not to get cracked. So yeah. Past that, we're leaving. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Thank you all for the super chats today. Thanks for coming along. We will be back next Saturday as usual.
Absolutely.
I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
Fantastic.
Goodbye. Right.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
Thank you for coming in, everyone. See you all soon. Bye.
Ciao.